Hey guys, it's Laura. Welcome to my story. So today, as y'all know, I'm doing a review on Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, the first in the series, this Friday. And right now I'm reading Greek Mythology as I go through that, because Greek Mythology is honestly one of my favorite types of mythology. I don't know why, but I love it. So I'm reading Greek Mythology while I read these. I will break it up. I will bring in back in the Hans Christian Andersen, Grimm's Fairy Tales, the what is it? Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. I'll bring that back in. I promise. Those are. I'll randomly pull those out. You never know when I might. So, but today I'm reading a story that is actually referenced in this book, which I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to keep. As you can see, I have the whole Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. I have the first two of the next half of the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles. So I'm gonna try and keep the stories that I read around these books to the stories that are referenced in the books. And today's is actually going to be one that I find kind of good, bad, I don't know. It's basically about Percy, the character Percy Jackson's namesake. It is Perseus and the Gorgon. Gorgon. Don't know which one. And again, I'm reading from this book. I've said it once, I've said it twice, I'm not going to try to say the name. And this one is a slightly lengthy one. It's at least 2 pages. So, and again, there is a small little paragraph right before reading the story. It's by William Morris, The Earthly Paradise. I'm going to read that first, and then I'll get into the story. Here we go. Also, I do not have a cat with me this time. She was so fussy last week. I didn't realize how fussy of a co-star she was. She's worse than Mia, and Mia is pretty bad. Actually, okay. Mia's under my desk in her little hole right now. So, I'm good on that right now. So, no noisy co-star today. Unless my husband comes in. But he probably won't. Anyway, let's go. Okay. Perseus and the Gorgon. Is it Gorgon or Gorgon? Gorgon sounds right, but Gorgon is spelled right. Leave down in the comments which one it is, because I'm confused. All I know is about Medusa and her sisters. Leave it at that. Here we go. Okay. Peaceful grew the land, and while the ivory rod was in his hand, from robbers fled, and good men still waxed strong. And in no house was any sound of wrong, until the golden age there seemed to be, so steeped the land was in felicity. I don't know. That is by William Morris, The Earthly Paradise. I don't know. I'm not going to attempt to know. I'm going to turn the page with my Harry Potter bookmark and continue reading. Okay. There once was a troubled king who learned through an oracle that he was to reach his death through the hand of his own grandson. The king was Perseus, king of Argos, and he only had one child, the fair Danae. Perseus shut her away in a cave in order to keep her unwedded, and there she grew older and more beautiful. As time passed, no man could reach her, though many tried. Eventually, word of her beauty reached the gods, and finally, the king of the gods himself, Zeus. Can I just say, I'm just gonna stop there for a second. Can I just say, I don't like Zeus. I just don't like him. I'm just gonna leave that out there. No. Back to the story. You'll learn why later as I read. Okay. He entered her prison in a cascade of light and planted in her womb the seed of the gods. Ew. I'm 27 and I'm sorry, that just sounds so wrong. And I know what it means, it's just like, ugh. And from this the infant Perseus was spawned. Archesius heard the infant's cries and unable to kill him outright, he released Danae from her prison. And with her child she was placed on a raft and sent out on the stormy seas to meet their death. Now Poseidon knew of Zeus's child and calmed the sea, lifting the mother and child carefully to the island of Seriphos, where they washed up onto safe shores. They were discovered there by a kind fisherman who brought them back to his home. In the humble and peaceful abode that Perseus grew up, a boy of effortless intelligence, cunning, and nobility. He was a sportsman beyond compare, and a hero among his playmates. He was often visited in his dreams by Athena. Athena? Is it Athene or Athena? Because this one has Athene, but everywhere else I've read it, it's Athena with an A on the end instead of an E. Again, leave it down in the comments which one's right. Meh? The goddess of war, who filled his head with lusty ambition and inspired him to seek danger and excitement. The fisherman became a father figure to Perseus, but another schemed to take his place. The fisherman's brother, Polydectes. Give me a second, I need to go find out how to say that word. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I had to ask my husband how to say that because once I hear it, I can say it. But if I see it spelled first, I don't know what the heck it says. So, let's try that again. Sorry. Okay. Okay, here we go. The fisherman's brother, I think I said son earlier, his brother, sorry. Polydectes, chief of the island, was besotted by the beautiful Danae and longed to have her as his wife. He showered her with priceless gold, jewels, succulent morsels of food, rich fabrics, and fur. But her heart belonged to Perseus, and she refused his intentions. Embittered, he resolved to dispose of the youth and set Perseus a task at which he could not help but fail, and from which no mortal man could ever return. The task was to slay the creature of Medusa, one of the 3 Gorgon sisters. Medusa was the only mortal of the Gorgons, with a face so hideous, so repulsive, that any man who laid eyes on her were turned to stone before he could attack. Her hair was a nest of vipers, which writhed around that flawed and fatal face. Perseus was enthralled by the idea of performing an act of such bravery, and that night, as he slept, he was summoned again the goddess of Athena, who provided him with the tools by which the task could be shouldered. Athena came to him, a glorious figure of war. Hold on, my phone's dying. Okay, hopefully that's the last interruption I have. I had to plug my phone in. Okay. Here we go. Off. Mia, please get down. You were doing so well earlier. No. Okay. Athena came to him, a glorious figure of war, and with her she brought Hermes, her brother, who offered the young man powerful charms with which he could make his way. Perseus was provided with Hermes' own crooked sword, sturdy enough to cut through even the strongest armor. And Perseus's feet were fitted with winged sandals by which he could make his escape. From Pluto he received a helmet, that which had the power to make its wearer invisible. Athena offered her mirrored shield, which would allow Perseus to strike Medusa without seeing her horrible face. Finally, he was given a skin bag to carry the Gorgon's head from the site. Perseus set out the next morning, his first assignment to find the half-sisters of the Gorgons. In the icy wilderness of the northern steppes of Graia, they alone could provide him with the whereabouts of Medusa. With the aid of his winged sandals, Perseus flew north, till he came to the frosted mist of the mountain. There the earth was so cold, a fabulous crack was rent across her surface. The land barren, icy, empty, and although he felt no fear, Perseus had to struggle to carry on, his breath frozen on his lips. There, on the edge of the Hyperborean Sea, were the Grey Sisters, witches from another era, who had come there to end their days, wrecking a wretched existence from the snow-capped mountains, toothless and haggard with age. They had but one eye between them, and one tooth, without which they surely would have died. Perseus chose his moment carefully, and lunged into their midst, grasping their single eye and stepping out of reach. "I require your assistance," he said firmly. "I must know the way to the Gorgons. If you cannot help me, I shall take your tooth as well, and you shall starve in this wilderness." The Grey Sisters swayed and muttered, lolling upon the snow and fumbling across its icy surface toward the awe-inspiring voice. A cry rose up when they realized that he had their eye, and they threatened and cursed Perseus, their howls echoing in the blackness of the wasteland. Finally, they succumbed, the fear of blindness in that empty place enlivening their tongues, loosening their resolve. Perseus graciously returned the eye, and on a breath of arctic air, he rose and headed southwards, out of sight of the sisters, who struggled to see their tormentor. Back through the mist he flew, where the sea sent spirals of spray that lashed at his heels and threatened to drag him down. On he went, and the snows melted away into a sea so blue he seemed enveloped by it. The sky grew bright, the grass of the fields green and inviting, and as he flew he grew hotter, his eyes heavy with exhaustion, his perfect skin dripping with effort. The other end of the world rose up, a sea and a land where no human dared enter, a land of burning heat, of fiery hatred and fear, where none lived but the Gorgons themselves, surrounded by the hapless stone statues of man and beast who had dared to look upon them. He came across the sisters as they slept in the midday sun. Medusa lay between her sisters, who protectively laid their arms across her mass. Her body was scaled and repellent, her limbs clawed and gnarled. Perseus dared to look no further, but from the corner of his eyes he saw the coiling vipers, and the serpent's tongues which even in sleep darted from her razor-sharp lips. Her fearsome eyes were shut. He was safe. With one decisive movement he plunged himself and his sword towards the creature, Athena's shield held high. A Medusa's answering howl pierced the air, ripping the breath from his lungs, and dragging him down towards her. He struggled to maintain his composure, shivering and drawn to look at the source of this violent cry. He fell on her, shaking his head to clear it, fighting with temptation to give in. And then the courage that was deep inside him, born within him, the gift of his father Zeus, redeemed him. He lifted his head, and with shield held high, thrust his sword in one wild swoop that lopped off the head of Medusa. He packed it hastily in his bag and leapt up, away from the arms of the sisters Gorgon, who had woken abruptly, and now hissed and struck out at him. The Gorgons were not humans, and could not, like Medusa, be slain by humans. They rose on wings like murderous vultures, yowling and gnashing their teeth, screaming of revenge. But Perseus had disappeared. His helmet took him from their side, and shrouded him with a curtain that protected him from their eyes. He was safe. For days on end he flew with his booty. Across the desert, where the dripping blood of Medusa hit the sand and bred evil vipers and venomous snakes, ever to populate the sunburnt earth. The Gorgons flew behind him, a whirlwind of hatred and revenge. But Perseus soared above them until he was safe at the edge of his world. He came to the rest at the home of the Atlas, the giant, who held up with great pillars the weight of the sky. He begged for a place to lay his weary head, for sustenance and water, but the giant refused him. Tired and angry, Perseus thrust his hand into his bag and drew out the monster's head. To this day, Atlas stands, a stone giant holding up the skies, his head frosted with snow, his face frozen with horror. Perseus flew on, although it was several months and many more challenges before he was able to present his trophy. But his travels are another story, involving passion, bravery, and an ultimate battle. He would meet Polydectes once again, would defend his hostage mother, and face his long-lost grandfather. He would make his own mark at Olympus and become eventually a bright star, a divine beacon which would guide courageous wanderers, as he had once been. Good Lord, that was good. Okay, that is the longest story that I've read so far, and I think it's my favorite. That was so good. And if I remember correctly, I might read this story later on, but if I'm remembering my ancient Greek correctly, the reason Medusa was a Gorgon in the first place is because Poseidon, I think, was her lover, and Poseidon and Athena hated each other. Like, hated each other. So Poseidon decided to basically piss Athena off and take Medusa, who I actually think was one of her priestess, and I don't know if he raped her or if it was consensual, but they did it in Athena's temple. And because Athena couldn't exactly beat up her uncle, she turned Medusa from an extremely beautiful woman to a Gorgon. The reason I decided to read this story is because in this book, I'll bring it up again this Friday, Percy, who was a son of Poseidon, or Neptune, whichever one, was named after Perseus, son of Zeus, and basically did the same thing. Only difference is Medusa was awake. So, excuse me, that was a lot of reading. So, anyway, that was today's story. I hope you'll have a wonderful day. I hope your story is unfolding the way you want it to. And I hope you're being kind to each other. I'll see you later. Bye, guys.